guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title, I'm going to be telling you guys about some books that I've read and I've truly enjoyed. Some of them are among the list of my favorite books, and others I wouldn't exactly label them as my favorites, but I enjoyed them and I'm just recommending. As you can see, I have an Operation True Love, like a mini postage in the back. I freaking love Operation True Love, and I'm on the subreddit, and people, I don't know, some people say that there's plot holes, some people don't like it, and I would say yeah, there are some plot holes, but I just love it so much, and I really hope that the creator comes back soon and that they get better. But anyways, if you like Operation True Love, tell me, please. Anyways, so the first book I'm starting with is The Library of Heartbeats by Laura Imai Messina, and this book, it gave me such a warm, comfy energy, like cozy. So basically it takes place in the coastal town of Kamakura in Japan, and it follows the main character Suichi, and he is, how old is he? He's 40 years old, and an 8-year-old boy named Kenta. And basically, I'm not gonna explain everything because I'm not trying to tell you guys the whole story, but just, you know, the plot so you can feel it out. Well, I don't want to give any more than the blurb is giving because that's usually how people get engaged to read a book, but Suichi loses his mother and he has to come back to Kamakura to, you know, clean up the house, just straighten it out, and he starts living there again. But then there's this little boy, Kenta, like I was talking about, and he's just like sort of lurking around the house. He's taking stuff from the garage, and Suichi's like, who is this dude? And it turns out that their lives are pretty intertwined and they don't even know it, and they just meet each other. I truly hope that was a good explanation because this book, it just warms my heart. There is a library of heartbeats that it's like an archive with different people's hearts from around the world, and then that is a big thing in here. Yeah, basically it's a very wholesome, sad, comforting, warm, family sort of book. You know what I mean? It's not a book that has a big climax. There's no twists and turns that happens. This book reminds me of warm tea on a really cold day. You know what I mean? It's just cozy, and it's such a calming book, and I finished this book so quickly. I was so attached. And to be honest with you, I noticed the other day, I was looking at it on my bookshelf and I was like, wow, I really enjoyed reading this book. So I think I have a bit of an attachment to it now, and I don't know, I just wish it was longer. Her writing is just amazing. I love it. I love how the chapters are set up. You'll see it. Like, I don't want to give too much, but Library of Heartbeats, I would rate this book, I don't think I can trust my ratings, and I don't think you guys should trust my ratings either, because it has to be really bad for me to give it something bad. Like, you know, I'm usually a 10 out of 10, 9.5 type of person, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to rate books in this video. But I love this book, and I hope you do your research on it, or if you just want to go into it with the summary I gave, I hope you do. Now on to the next book. Next book is Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, and as you can see, this book is freaking falling apart. It's in 3 pieces. I got this at a book exchange, and I love book exchange. If you have a book exchange in your state, wherever you are, I think you definitely, like, don't get me wrong, I love Barnes & Noble, but book exchange, you know what I mean? Where you would get one book for like $15 or $24. Book exchange, how much did I get this for? I paid 63 cents for this book. I paid 63 cents for this book, and this was in the classic section. And I also got Anna Karenina, and I have A Clockwork Orange. And were those the only 2 books that I got from the classic section? I can't remember, but book exchange is great. Please don't mind that this book is falling apart because it gives book exchange like a weird rep. But used books, there's just something different about them. Now I'm more prone to buying used books from thrift books that are online. This isn't sponsored, but I love books, and whoever's watching this, you probably love books too, so I'm giving you the inside info, which is probably common knowledge. But thriftbooks.com, I love it so much. mini bookstores. I have one in my state just called Books, and it's like a whole bunch of used books, and it's a good price. And Book Exchange. The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is a pretty popular book. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard about this book at least once. And I wanted to watch the movie, but I never got around to it because I am not a big fan of books being turned into movies because they tend to not do a good job at all. Like those who have read Girl on the Train and then you watch the movie, you're like, what the hell did I just watch? It's awful. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going everywhere right now. If this is the type of thing that you like, then you should definitely subscribe to my channel. Because I talk about a whole bunch of different things. But anyways, little sidebar. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I was a little cautious and like standoffish when when they were like, oh, we're coming out with a mini series. I was like, all right, I really hope it's good. But thankfully, Holly Jackson was on it because I feel like when the when the author isn't a part of the on-screen creation, they just do whatever they want. You know what I mean? But I'm lying because Call Me by Your Name, that's a pretty good movie. But I digress. Actually, no, I'm not digressing. Good Girls Guide to Murder was actually pretty good. And it just like confused me a little bit because I was like, oh, we're here already because like the people that have read the book, it's not the trilogy, it's just A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, the first book. And I was like, oh, we're going pretty fast. But then I'm like, oh, this is a show and it's a limited series, so I get it. But they did a really good job. Anyways, I'm here to talk about this book and I haven't even said anything about it yet. But anyways, The Picture of Dorian Gray basically follows this young man, young Dorian Gray, and as you can see by the image, he has a picture behind him because he has an artist friend and the artist friend is making a portrait of him and he takes it home. And then one day he comes back and he's looking at the picture and he's like, something's fishy. Those wrinkles weren't there. Whoa, what's going on with the back? Like, these wrinkles weren't there before. What the hell is going on? And then he realizes that it's like this freaking magical thing. So, I mean, long story short, the portrait is aging, but he isn't. And it's such a great story. I read this book earlier this year. I read it in January, I think. I don't really know what else to say. That's like the main premise of the book. You know, there's theater performances, there are... If you like Gothic literature, I think this is under Gothic literature. But, yeah, maybe I should read the back for you guys. Yeah? When handsome young Dorian Gray sees a portrait that has been painted of him, he bitterly regrets that he must someday grow old. He wishes that the painting would age and that he would always keep his youth. Destruction and tragedy follow in his wake as he embarks on a life of wanton sensuality. His corruption, however, does not leave an outward mark, for his wish has come true. Only the portrait reveals the ravages of his decadent life. I'm sorry if I did a bad job on explaining what, you know. Anyways, Lisa Jules, then she was gone. The family, they lose their daughter, their sister, and they're like, where did Ellie go? Ellie is gone. Where has she gone? And you know, as time goes on, the family breaks apart, as most stories like this, you know, that happens with the family. A child goes missing or they end up passing away and the family just like breaks apart. So the mom and dad, they get divorced, and then like, I think 10 years later, yes, 10 years later, the mother goes on a date and she finds this guy that she's talking to, and his name is Floyd. Is it? I can't remember. Name isn't important. But anyway, she starts dating this guy, and they start hanging out, and she meets his daughter, and she's like, wow, you remind me so much of my daughter. You remind me so much of her. And it's just like thing after thing after thing after thing, and then things start to unravel. I can't even really explain this to you without spoiling something. I would say, I guess maybe for some people this would be a slow burn. I actually really enjoyed it, but somebody that I recommended this book to, she read it and she said that it was a slow burn and that it was getting a little boring, but then it got really exciting. You know, oh my goodness, that's a book I forgot to get. I got the book, but as I was saying, what was I saying? Then she was gone. Hopefully I explained it well enough for you to be interested. It's a very suspicious book, and I like suspicious books because it has you second guessing and you're just at the edge of your seat and you're just like, wait, what? And you think somebody is guilty and then you're like, oh no, they're not. And they're like, huh? And then you're like, no. Another book that's like that is The Silent Patient. If you've read The Silent Patient, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the book that I just went to get. Ian reads, I'm thinking of ending things. I'm not gonna lie, this book took me a very long time to finish because of how freaking slow it is. This took me so long. I started it, I read this last year, I think it was, and I started it and I just stopped. And then like I think 2 months after I came back, it did confuse me a bit. I was like, okay, where are we going with this? And it's just like so flat in the beginning. And I know if I'm trying to persuade you to read a book, flat and slow and boring is probably not a book that you would want to read. But I'm getting there, just like the book eventually does. I'm thinking of ending things. It is about this couple and like the majority of the book, they're on the road and it's snowy. Exactly. You will be scared, but you won't know why. This book is freaking eerie, okay? I know I said that I read it and then I stopped, but the thing that I do with books, I did this while I was reading The Bell Jar. When I get a book and I don't like it at that time, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't like it right now because it's not my time for me to read it, so I put it aside and then I go back into it. And this might be a little controversial, but I have read The Bell Jar 3 times and I still do not get the hype. I don't know what it is, and that is my opinion, and let that be that. Where is it? It's right there. It's right there looking at me. I have read The Bell Jar 3 times. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not for me right now. Do it again, maybe. Okay, it's not for me right now again. The 3rd time, I was like, okay, I guess I'm not getting something that everybody else seems to be getting, and that is completely fine. This couple, they meet at a pub while like there's this trivia night going on, and the majority of the book, a good bit of the book, is spent on the road in a road trip, and it's a snowstorm because the boyfriend is taking the girlfriend to meet his parents, and they live in the middle of freaking nowhere, pretty much, you know, in this small town. And then they go to the house and the parents are weird, and these things start to unfold and it doesn't really make sense. And like they said, you will be scared and you don't know why. You're like, okay, this is weird, but I like it. I ended up watching the movie because the movie's on Netflix. And the same thing happened with me in the movie, and it's weird. I started the movie and I was like, no. And then after I finished the book, I was like, okay, let's watch the movie again. And then I got into it, and the movie is pretty good actually. It does a good job of getting that eeriness, especially when they make it to the parents' house and it's like they're at the barn and the school and all this stuff. How did this make me feel? This book made me feel trapped. It made me feel like I was in a liminal space. You know those backroom photos or like those liminal space photos, and it's like I've been here before. There's like a bit of nostalgia and comfort in this, but it's still there's something off. You know what I mean? So if you like eerie, weird things and slow burns, but those last, I don't know, maybe 3 chapters is pretty good. This should have been first. No, I love Library Heartbeats. Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden is my holy grail. And my first video on this channel actually was inspired by Memoirs of a Geisha. Yeah. Memoirs of a Geisha follows Sayuri, and her backstory is her mom is sick and her dad is old and she has an older sister, and they make this deal with Mr. Tanaka. He is not what he seems, and in the book she expresses her hatred for him but also her love for him, and that is very clear in the like first page, second page, in the beginning. also takes place before the World War, during a World War II, before, during, and after. I don't know, I find that the things that I love the most, I can't articulate the words properly for it. But if I can say how this book made me feel, it made me feel like I was having an outer body experience, and I got sucked into the book, and I felt like I was in the streets of Kyoto during this time, and that I was side by side with her, and just like seeing everything that was going on, and hating Hatsumomo with her. Hatsumoro? Like my favorite things, I can't properly find the words to articulate it. I hold this book very dear to me. I just think it's the explanation of scenery and the detail in characters and just the dialogue and how it's written. So much goes on, and this isn't a big book, but the storytelling, it makes you feel, I don't know. I'm very emotional about this book. Astonishing, breathtaking, you are seduced completely. Washington Post book world. I definitely agree with the Washington Post, because I picked the book up and I couldn't put it down. And then once it was finished, oh, I remember I finished the book at like 3 in the morning, and I was just sitting there. I was reading in the closet, actually, and I was just sitting there. And I was so sad because I'm like, wow, I finished the book, but this was such an amazing journey for me to actually read the book and feel like I was there and know what they were going through. This is a book that I was really sad to finish, and I was stalling. Has anybody ever done that before? I was on like the last 2 chapters, and I was stalling for the longest time, but I also didn't want to put it down. Memoirs of a Geisha. I don't care if I didn't explain it right. You should read it. Go into it blind. But I was on Reddit, as one is usually on Reddit, and they said that if you want a more accurate version, because Memoirs of a Geisha isn't as much as an accurate version, you can get Geisha of Gion, and I have it. Hold on, let me show it to you. Geisha of Gion. I have yet to read this because I ordered it recently from thriftbooks.com. Ooh, it has pictures in here. Real deal. Real pictures. So I'm excited to read this book. Also, if you want to know what it was like to be a geisha during World War II and after World War II, you should definitely scroll down in my videos. There aren't many. And you should watch my first video where I talk about that, because that was really fun. I wish I could read this again for the first time. Now we have The Rant of Nanking by Iris Chang. It's not for the fond of heart. It's not wholesome, obviously, as you can see by the name. And Iris Chang describes it as the forgotten Holocaust of World War II. So we have 2 books, taking place during World War II. But can you hear that? It taught me about something that I wasn't very educated about. Now, I knew what happened between Japan and China during this time, but I didn't know the in-depth and the things that truly went on in such a short amount of time. This book is very gruesome. This book is disturbing. This book is captivating and sad at the same time, I think Iris Chang does an amazing job in this book. She documents what happens in chronological order, and she has true accounts from people that were actually a part of it, and documents, and we're talking about the people that weren't Chinese, but how the German people that were in China were helping. Reader's discretion, because there are pictures in here, very serious pictures in here, and the descriptions, she does a great job of actually making you feel, if I can say that, what was going on during this time, and how the people were feeling and who was involved, and the descriptions in this book of what Japanese soldiers were doing to Chinese women and girls and older women, and as well as the men. It is very gruesome, but it is informative. This was another book that I picked up and I could not put it down. I finished this one fairly quickly as well. But yes, if you're a history buff, or if you just want to educate yourself, or if this is something that you have never heard of, I think you should definitely read this book, The Rant ranking because honestly I love this book and this is on my favorite book list, most definitely. Now we have Subliminal Seduction and funny story about how I had to get this. This was not an easy book to get. You know what I mean? What made me get it one morning, little story time. One morning, I woke up way too early and I was on Tubi because they have some really good documentaries. And there was a documentary on The Shining called Room 237. And it's like, it reminds you of one of those YouTuber group commentaries because you hear different people speaking in the background describing what the director of The Shining was trying to do. You know, when Jack's character was locked in the freezer. Was he locked? Yeah, when he was locked in the freezer, the certain cans and like the colors and the symbols. It's just, you should definitely watch the documentary if you can't get this book. I looked everywhere for this book. They speak about this book and they talk about how advertising, they seduce you with advertising, which is why you feel a certain way after you see certain pictures. They're targeting you sexually, specifically. And there are pictures in here that show certain things and then they explain it. This is not a book that you can read quickly because you have to digest literally every sentence. You have to reread things over and over and over again. And I like books like this because it allows you to work your mind. Minds are quicker than eyes, so basically the subconscious. You would be watching a movie and you wouldn't catch it. You know, they would do some slick stuff. You wouldn't catch it, but your subconscious already knows. So it's why you would feel a certain way, or if you see something, you would automatically associate it with something because unconsciously, subconsciously, you know what's going on. So your mind is quicker than your eyes. And just to give you some like insight on what the back says, some of the things you should know in order to defend yourself against media rape, because I'm pretty sure we can't say the R word on, even though I just said it like 3 times with the other book. It's okay. Why the camel on the cigarette pack has just 1 hump instead of 2, because a camel doesn't only have 1 hump. Where the dirty words in an ad for children's dolls can be found. How an ice cube in a liquor ad can turn you on. The place in TV commercials where you can view an obscene act. The castrating image of Cosmo Girl is provided with. And yeah. Hanya Yanagihara's A Little Life. This book is either half-half with people. It's either 100% or 0%. And I am the 100% crew. A lot of people are against this book. Well, I don't really want to get into all that because that's not what this video is about. But you can do your research on it. It's literally everywhere. Little Life follows 4 friends that meet in college. You have Jude, Willem, JB, and Malcolm. And they meet in college. And they're like completely different. But then as their life goes on, they still know each other. And all these things happen in their life. And as life goes, not the best things happen in their life. But although there are 4 main characters, Jude is the one that we really end up focusing on as the story goes on. Jude has had a hard life. The hardest life out of all of them. I don't want to spoil it for you. I can't say what goes on. But anyways, Jude, he's so smart and he is so sweet, but he has a crap load of trauma from different people in his life. And it just keeps going. It just keeps happening from when he was a young boy all the way up until his older ages. And I feel like this book really highlights the reality in life. You know what I mean? How some people, this is a reality for a lot of people. Not everybody's life, obviously, as we know, no one's life is just sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows all the time. But how, you know, even though there are a lot of people they have good experiences in life and they have people they can trust and they're like content with themselves. This shows the reality of like, even if you have people around you that care for you, if you have a certain amount of trauma, I don't want to say a certain amount, if you have trauma and it is deep and it's dark and it's truly hurtful, it can hinder your, is that the right word? It can break up your relationships, the way you see yourself. But yeah, this book truly highlights friendship and family and trauma and hardships and the things that everyday people go through in your life. You know, the people you're walking down the street can be exactly like Jude and you wouldn't even know. How did this book make me feel? Like this, like exactly, while I would just blank stare at the wall. There are times that you just have to close the book, and I'm pretty sure everybody has heard of A Little Life, okay, in the book community. If you are a reader, you have heard of A Little Life. It's not an easy read. I don't think it's for everyone. A lot of people don't like the book. Many people like the book. I would just say your discretion, because Hanya does not hold back with anything. And when I ended the book, it was just a blank stare at the wall. And I was in a reading slump actually after I finished this book, you know, and it is a bit of a slow burn, you know, so, but in a good way, because you get to understand the characters and then the friends of the characters and then the different chapters. Like there will be one chapter about Jude, and then you go to Willem, and then JB, and then Malcolm, and then their relationships outside of each other. You know, it's very reality-like, and I truly love this book. This is really long. Oh my goodness, this video is so long, and I'm sorry. So I'm gonna do a part 2. Yeah, especially since I think I'm just rambling, but this is who I am. Thank you so much for watching. Right now the video is pretty long, so hopefully by the time I post this, I've edited it enough so that it is not as long. And if it's still pretty long, then use your imagination. But thank you so much for watching. Give me book recommendations. If you've read any of the books that I have showed you today, please tell me. I am a rambler. When I am passionate about things, I just ramble, and if I don't have a script, and I don't have a script, and it's okay not to have a script. But yeah, I still have a whole bunch of more books that I didn't even do, but it's too long, and I'll just do a part 2, depending on how good this video does. But anyways, mwah, ta-ta. Also, Operation True Love. If you like Webtoon, tell me, okay? Ta-ta.